As always, I'm joined by my esteemed co-host Brett Lindley. Brett, how you doing today?
So excited.
Yeah, man. Well, like we said in the intro, we are joined by special guest Vibe. Vibe, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys right now. Let's do it.
Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure. Well, so we're obviously, like I said before we started recording, super excited to have you here. You were a StarCraft 2 pro for a long time, and then since then have moved into full-time kind of streaming and coaching and that sort of thing. So really, before I get in deep into the StarCraft stuff, though, I'm curious just kind of to understand you a little more. So where are you from? Where did you grow up at? To start with.
I'm from Colorado. I've lived here pretty much the majority of my life. I've moved around a little bit here and there. Like I lived in Australia for a couple years. I lived in California for like a couple months. Not that long. But yeah, the majority of my life has definitely been Colorado. It's a bit. Not so much lately, but I kind of like a bit of like the slower environment where it's not so city hustle bustle, like super busy, like everywhere. But yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So growing up, I mean, was there a competitive gaming scene that you grew up in, or how did you kind of get introduced into gaming?
Really, for me, it was just my friends, honestly. Like there was no competitive scene, and like the first competitive thing that I got into was just BattleNet for like I'm an old school Blizzard fanboy. So like I used to play Warcraft 2 with like modem connections, and then suddenly they came out with Warcraft 2 BattleNet edition, and I was like, all right, let's go.
I don't have to configure the IRQ and the DMA.
And then same thing with like StarCraft, Brood War, stuff like that. Warcraft 3. I used to play games like that all the time back in the day. So
yeah,
BattleNet was my form of competition because my real life circle of friends was more in like traditional sports like football, basketball, stuff like that. So I had one buddy who was really good, and every other buddy that played games was usually like, it would be like comparing like a Masters player to like a Silver player. And you're like, okay, well, you're going to lose every time. So, yeah.
It's like my buddy that had the SNES, and I didn't grow up with consoles, so I'd go over to his house and well, yeah, let's play some Street Fighter. And I'm like,
Yeah, right?
I mean, I can't, but okay, no. I could lose for about half an hour before I'm done.
So when did you well, I guess before I go there, do you have a memory of kind of maybe what was, it doesn't have to be literally the first, but what was one of the earliest games that really grabbed you and pulled you in to gaming as a hobby?
I remember my dad was kind of a gamer as well. So, or he still is still a gamer, but he was a console gamer who became a PC gamer. It was kind of like he brought I have one sibling, an older brother, and he brought my brother and I into console gaming when we were really, really young. And then we kind of brought him into PC gaming as we got older because we like converted him, I guess, because we converted ourselves. But I used to play a console called TurboGrafx 16, and
Nice.
there was like, I remember one of the earliest games I played was a game called Bonk, and it was like this little caveman you would run around with, and he had a humongous head, and he would smash his head into stuff to attack stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I don't really remember this that much, to be honest, but my brother used to play Final Fantasy 1, and I would play with him as well, and sometimes I would play, sometimes he would play. But I remember vaguely playing it, but I actually learned that game was all text and it was no voices. So I actually kind of learned how to read a bit before I even like went to school.
Oh wow.
Because I played a lot of that game. So yeah, like I used to be all about mostly TurboGrafx 16 games, and then a couple other ones like Final Fantasy, which I don't even remember what console that was on, to be honest. Like regular Nintendo or something. I don't even
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was the TurboGrafx your first console, or did you go
This-
further back
I
to
think
like
that's-
ColecoVision?
I think it's the earliest one I remember for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Clearly, you're smarter than I am because when I was a little kid, my dad, we went to the video store and I wanted to rent a game, he would look at the back of the box to try and gauge how much text there was. Because if there was too much text, it meant that I was constantly going to be calling him into the room
Sure. Yeah.
to read to me what was on the screen, and he didn't want that life. So he'd be like, "Nah, you're going to have to wait until you're older and you can read before we get this one."
I probably would have had the same situation if my brother didn't actually, because he was playing and he would like read it out loud, and then I would kind of like understand it a little bit more over time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So pretty early rise to gaming. When did you so you and your brother said converted your dad to PC gaming? When did you get your first PC?
So my family got a PC when I was like, I think 9 years old or so. It was like either 9 or 10. It was really young, and it was like a pizza box. And one of the main memories that I have of that PC is we went to a store called CompUSA, and my dad wanted to buy 2 8-megabyte sticks of RAM to put in the computer, and each stick was like $450.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the hell, dude? Like, I didn't really have the concept of money back then. Like, I was like, oh, cool. But my dad was like, this is so damn expensive. Oh my god.
Did you have a lock on your PC? Did it have a barrel key?
I honestly, I don't think so. No.
Okay. We had an old Tandy that had like a barrel key that actually just like it was just a switch. It just kept the power from turning back on.
Okay.
But my dad would sometimes lock the PC at night, so you hit the power button, nothing happened.
Okay,
so.
yeah. My family's a lot more like chill about it. Like, I mean, there was like rules. My parents were always super relaxed about everything. Like, they were kind of just like I don't know. Maybe that's up until recently. I was always kind of lazy as well, and that's probably a reason why I was a bit lazy. Is because a lot of times my parents kind of let me make my own rules for myself, like very often. So I was like, yeah. I'll keep playing, and then it was more of this like not really like a rule set where you have to like have the computer time stops now, but if I'm still on and like let's say my mom got up to go to work, she'd be like, are you still awake? You never go to bed? What the hell's wrong with you? And then then there's a little bit of disappointment there, but yeah, very relaxed.
There was a little bit of a split between my mom and my dad, and I think some of my dad's rules were more for my mom to appease my mom than they really were for me. So
yeah.
So you grow up playing console games and then kind of get into PC. When did you start? And you mentioned that you were competing on BattleNet, but when did you start really serious, like taking it seriously, where you're thinking you're going to actually compete beyond just playing ladder games?
So that was a lot later. Like I started realizing I got like pretty good at games, and like towards the end of Brood War and when Warcraft 3 came out, I started like, because you have stats and stuff, and everyone's all about their record back then, and nowadays I guess you still kind of are, but I feel like it used to be more about it back then because there was more of like an internal community in the game that you would go to chat channels and look at people's profiles and stuff. But I just remember my statistics were like back in early Brood War days and like Warcraft 2 days, my win rates were like 50-50 all the time. Like I was never like impressed about my I was just like, yeah, I'm playing the game, I'm having fun. I didn't really care. And then towards the end of Brood War, I started becoming a bit more obsessed with my stats because I made like another account towards the end, and I remember I ended up playing like something around like 1,000 games on it, and it wasn't even like serious games. It was like 3v3 BGH. It's not even like 1v1 ladder type stuff. But I remember my record got to like 70% plus, and I was super impressed with that. And then in Warcraft 3, I actually started making accounts that could have like my main account was like a 90% win rate. So I was like, okay, I'm starting to get a lot better at these games, like because I have just so much more experience than all these new players that keep playing. I still wasn't competing pro though, but I was just feeling like I was really good in general online, and I wanted to start competing. I didn't really know how to do it because it was way more obscure about how to get into pro gaming back then. And then I remember in Warcraft 3, or sorry, in World of Warcraft actually, my friends and I were playing Arena, and on our back when that game had battle groups, we were actually rank 1 in our battle group for a couple months, and there was a tournament that came out. That was like it was coming out in like 2 months in like Austin, and my friends that I was playing with were in California, and I was Colorado still, and we all agreed we were gonna go to it. So I was looking forward to like going and competing in an event and just like feeling like I never really got to experience what it'd be like to go to a LAN event, but I always kind of wanted to do it because I had already also been watching like BlizzCon up like for a few years before that, and I was like, okay, these players that play Brood War and Warcraft 3 at BlizzCon are, that's like I'm super. I want to get into that. It sounds really cool to me. I want to be a part of that. And then I remember the World of Warcraft tournament that I was going to go to in Austin, like up until about 2 weeks before it, my buddies and I were like, yeah, we're doing it. But then like 2 weeks before, my buddies ended up being like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't really want to pay the flight costs. I don't want to go for the hotel. Like, it just sounds like a lot of money. I don't really want to do it anymore. So they kind of bailed. Yeah, it kind of sucked. I was a little disappointed. And then our other friends that we knew online who actually did go, they definitely weren't bad or anything like that. But I would say our record against them was like we beat them definitely like way more than half the time, probably like 75-25 split between us winning and them winning. And they ended up winning the tournament, and I was like, dude, we could have literally won that. I really feel like we could have won that tournament. And then my friends, they just didn't really have the same like drive to want to do pro gaming like I did. They're like more traditional upbringings, like they're going to college, they're going for their degrees and stuff, and they're just gonna like that's their course they want to go down. They just want to play gaming for fun, not super serious. So I ended up telling myself that the next game that comes out, I didn't care what genre it was. The next game that comes out that I'm gonna play, that I can play solo, I'm just gonna go for it and see what I can do with it. And that happened to be in this. I made this choice in like 2000, late 2008, sometime in like 2009. I can't remember the exact. It was like about a year before StarCraft 2 came out, and like it was like right before like the beta podcasts and stuff came out with like David Kim and like his friend.
Yeah.
Who it was his friend like Matt. I think it was before Dustin Browder as well, and then Dustin Browder started after that with it because terrible damage stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Addicted to terrible damage.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I remember just saying like I'm so excited about RTS Blizzard. I love it, and StarCraft 2 was the next game I was gonna go pro at. I just wanted to do it, and I remember the way I made sure I could do that was I went to eBay. This is the only time I've ever done this, but I went to eBay and I literally bought a BlizzCon beta key for StarCraft 2. And I ended up spending like, I think it was like $300 on it. Because I was like, I'm getting, I don't care. I'm going day one. And I had no access to get a beta key then. So I literally just bought a beta. And then I literally played StarCraft from day one. And I even started streaming because I honestly, I feel like this was probably the best decision I made. Because I thought to myself, if you, because I knew friends of mine that had been like, so let me back up a bit and like actually explain why I thought streaming was going to be good. So my friends that won that Texas tournament, they ended up getting sponsored, and then I ended up, my friends and I ended up also, different friends of mine ended up playing Heroes in New Earth, and I played a lot of that game. I went pro at it or anything like that, but I was definitely pretty decent at it, and I was playing with people who also later on got sponsored. And I was like, okay, these guys are getting sponsored, and like, how is that happening? It's because their name is out there, it's more exposed, and you know, sponsors, some word of mouth happens, and then a sponsor picks them up. And I told myself, because of these people I knew that got sponsored, and I thought I could be on that level too, that I was just gonna stream just to get my name out there. I didn't think about, oh, I'm gonna grow a stream and grow a stream brand. I literally just wanted to get my name out there to get sponsored and like get on a team. And it worked great. It not only do you have ladder exposure, right? Because you have like it's again word of mouth when you have opponents who potentially are sponsored. Like for instance, if I played someone from like EG, let's say I played like Machine or like In Control or LZ Gamer or Idra or someone like that, and if they're like, what do you think about this Vibe guy? And they're, oh, I play him a lot. He's actually pretty good. Like if people actually think you're good that are already sponsored, your chances of being sponsored are way higher. But the fact that I also streamed and it just made your name get out there even more. It's just easier to get picked up by a team. And that's really what I just fully ended up going for right at the start of StarCraft 2. And I have, for like the first 5 years of that game, I think I legit played that game every day. Like I never missed a day. Some days more than other, right? Like some days were like 12-hour sessions or something like that. But some days were like maybe more like 2-hour sessions. But literally never missed a day for the first like 5 years of that game.
That's wild. So you didn't really, at the beginning I said you transitioned to streaming after being a pro gamer, but that's not really true. You did both simultaneously from the jump.
I in the beginning I definitely did, because I just wanted to keep, it wasn't for monetary value or anything like that. It was literally just to keep getting my name further out there, because it depends on your goal, right? Like if your goal is, I just want to get on any team, I don't care, and that's good enough for me. And then if let's say I'm like a top 128 player, that's good enough for me. If that's your goal, you're probably just gonna, like, if that was what my goal was, I'd be like, cool, I'm happy with that. It's fine. I can stop now if I really want to. But I feel like I had the thought in my mind that I've always been a really competitive person internally, and I always have wanted to be like better than everyone at everything I do. Because I when I grew up, and like I said, with how only one of my friends actually pushed me competitively in any way when I would play games with him. All my other friends, I would just destroy. Like every single time. I was like, I feel like I want to keep doing that process. I crave winning. So the continuation of streaming was literally just for the fact of, if I'm not like satisfied with where I'm at, I'm going to keep pushing and keep trying to push that goal, because I felt like it was working, and I wanted to keep going further to like a higher tier team, or get more in the top tier crowd of like getting myself tight knit with like high level practice partners, and like actually trying to become the best player that I can possibly be, stuff like that. So I literally just saw my stream early on as a platform to promote myself and nothing else.
That's a really fantastic way of doing it. I mean, like you said, getting your name out there is one of the hardest things to do. Like marketing is the hardest part of it, making any product. And when the product is yourself, that's the same thing. So yeah, having other players talk about you, have, just exposure so that people can find you. Being found, my dad always said that if you had a DIY go to the moon kit, it could be the best, cheapest thing in the world, but if nobody knows it exists, so you're not going to sell any.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where you'll have a different experience if you if you're onto something and like let's just say you have a player who knows something that's groundbreaking and they are actually going to change the game if that becomes more mainstream knowledge, and they try to tell people that and you have no backing to like any type of credibility to you, everyone might just be like, what? Okay, I don't care. Like, this is some rando telling me this. But then
that's not the meta. You probably don't know what's going on.
But then if you have anybody with any credibility, even if they know even less than that guy, for instance, for that one thing they're talking about, immediately it's like, oh, dude, he's just changed. Like, this is changing everything. This guy's such a genius. It's like, wow, he's amazing. And then it's just really about who you are and what you say changes the whole perspective of how it is presented and everything.
That's interesting. So, I mean, you answered already. I was going to ask if all of your other friends just got dominated by you in all games, and the answer to that question is yes. So I'm curious. Like, I grew up playing. I'm 6'5" as an adult. I didn't grow up 6'5", but always the tall kid. Always played basketball and stuff, right? And I have one friend in particular though, who's any athletic endeavor we do, he wins, but he just runs faster and jumps higher than everybody else.
Sure.
But as a gamer, like, what do you attribute your capacity to just dominate everyone in your life if you pick up the sticks?
So for me, I definitely met a lot more friends along the way in gaming. Like once I started getting online, like Battle.net and stuff like that, I definitely were like way more on my level. But when I was a kid and I was, like we're talking when I was like 13, 14, 15, I was really young and I would be going to school and just, talking to people about gaming and stuff. What we would do a lot of the times, this is pretty fun. I kind of miss these days, but we used to play 1v1s with like show match style where there was like 6 observers kind of stuff, and we would rotate in winners and losers. And it was literally like when I had that one of my buddies, his name was Quan. When he and I would play against each other, it would literally be like, I don't know if I'm going to win and I don't know if he's going to win. And then what ended up happening was like for the whole time and all the games we played, we were always like neck and neck and everything. Like it was like you had to, if you made mistakes, you would lose, or if he made mistakes, he would lose. So it made you play better every time. And then the time I would say we really fine-tuned it was in Warcraft 3, because I think that's the game we played the longest together for, probably like 6 years. And what it ended up coming down to was he ended up just choosing to play random. So his random was really good, and I ended up choosing to play human, and my human was really good. And then whenever we played matches from that point on, because I had more precision practice with just one race. So if I got human, I would beat him. But if I got anything else, he would beat me. And that's what it eventually turned into. And it was really fun because it was like always hard to beat him. But every other one of my friends was something like this. Like this is a memory I have back when I was, this is when I was in middle school. I think it was in like 8th grade, which would put me at like, 13 years old or something like that. And we got off the bus right after school. And we were walking back home, and we all lived in the same neighborhood. And like it was 3 of us, and they wanted to go. We're going to go to one of our friends' houses to play StarCraft Brood War. Okay, and they were talking a ton of shit, being like, "I bet I'm probably better than you," and they had no idea how good. Neither of us really knew how good each other was, because at this point, none of us had really played together. But we just all kind of found out that we play a lot of StarCraft at this point. And then I remember watching my friend sit down, and he was trying to be super impressive about how good he was at the game. And I remember watching him play, and he was playing at the only, like, for StarCraft players, the way you can describe it through like APM would be like he was playing at something that looked like 30 or 40 APM. And I was like, bro, you have no idea how not good you are right now towards what I think you are. And he was talking so much shit, being like, yeah, I'm gonna crush you. Like he thinks he thought he was gonna like do very good against me. And then I ended up sitting down and playing, and then they thought I was just slapping the keyboard, like not even trying. Like I was just pretending to play. And then eventually, after like 10 minutes, they're like, no, he's actually playing the game. What the hell? Like, and back then I wouldn't say I was like, I definitely was not as good as I am now, but back then I still had like at least like 150 APM compared to like 30 for what they had. Because they're like literally like every key they hit, they're like looking at the keyboard, looking at the keyboard, looking at the keyboard. And I actually knew, I already was good with the keyboard because I have been using it for so long already. I literally knew where all the keys were already, so I didn't have to look at it. And that's where they were like, okay, he's pushing it fast and he's never looking down. He's definitely pretending to play right now. And then then they're like, wait, no, he's not. So it was pretty funny.
You're at max supply.
Yeah, it was a different.
That's a fluke, cheater, whatever.
Yeah, it was definitely a different experience for them.
Yeah, I remember I had a friend, I don't know, this was probably early 2000s, like 2001, 2002, something like that. And he was describing the Korean Brood War pro scene to us, which he actually didn't have much knowledge about either. But he said that they had broken StarCraft 2 down into just a formula, and that it was the pro scene was just people racing to see who could enter the formula in the fastest. And it's like,
Okay.
oh, okay. Like I mean, I guess you could kind of say that because the meta was kind of established at some point and they stopped patching it. But that was, I don't know, like just such a crazy way, though, a crazy misconception of people who don't play, how they understand the way that, the way that it works or whatever.
Right.
But anyway, it just made me think of when you're talking about the people slapping the keyboard, because I think that's what he was seeing and thinking, you know what I mean? Thinking that he's translating into, oh, well, they're just typing in something. And it's like, no.
I had a super similar experience as well in school. Because I feel like back then being good on a keyboard was like unheard of, because I had a keyboarding class as well when I was around middle school. And if you could type, you would like get an A+ if you could type at least like 40 words per minute. Mm-hmm. And that was like what people are trying to build up to. And a lot of people that were in that class, you could tell they've never even touched a keyboard in their life. They're like, okay, I'm typing probably like 3 words a minute, like one finger, look up, look down. They're like literally scanning the keyboard every time. Like, where is the J? Where is the B key? Like, they don't know where any keys are. And I'm literally typing. I wouldn't say, again, back then I didn't type as fast as I do now, but I could already type at least like 60 still, 50, 60 words per minute. So I already passed the class day one. And again, it's the same thing where even the teacher thought I was joking around by slapping the keys. And they're like, are you even typing? And I am typing. And they're like, it's like everyone's just blown away. Like, wow, you actually can use the keyboard already. This is insane. Because
our keyboarding class was day one was black keys.
Yeah.
There was no letters. There's just nubs on J and F, and that was it. That's all you got.
The keyboards I remember from school was like, it's similar to the first computer I got, where it literally looked almost like a pizza box with like a little tiny monitor on top of it, and it was the most basic computer ever. But yeah, no one. It was like uncommon knowledge to be able to use a computer back then.
Yeah, I grew up with a computer at home, but still didn't really learn. I mean, I took a keyboard class, but I wasn't good at typing still. And it really wasn't until I got into online gaming that I became more proficient at typing, because you have to type while you're playing, and then, so speed becomes more imperative. Whereas when I'm writing a paper for high school or something, like, I don't care. I'm just trying to get through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we had a moment a little while back that I didn't want to take us out, run the train off the tracks just right out the gate. But I have to call out for our longtime listeners that this is the first episode in which someone other than Walker has referenced WoW before he did. So I guess I gotta ask, what was your side? What'd you play?
So I've gone all over the place. I've played both Horde and Alliance, and I've played basically every class in the game at some point except for a Paladin. I've never wanted to play a Paladin ever.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm in the same boat, jumping all over the place. I have played a Paladin back in the Lich King days, but I just wanted to be able to run dungeons with my buddies easily, and
Sure.
there's nothing easier than a Paladin tank.
Yeah.
So
if I had to dictate like one class that defined me in WoW, though, it would definitely be Warrior. I would say I definitely Warrior main most of the time. And I think the most, which is why I'm excited actually about Burning Crusade Classic coming out again, because I feel like I'll jump back into that again. But doing like Stance Arena, that like back in like BC days and early, like before they changed the Warrior around, that was, in my opinion, super fun. I love that class. And yeah, Warrior definitely, I had the most fun by far. Just like you charge someone with like a full rage bar and you just rage dump him, they just die. Like it just feels good.
Yeah, and BC, when I played, probably the most was like the BC Lich King era, and one of my closest friends that I played with, he played a Warrior and I played a Resto Druid, and we just run around in World PvP and just farm.
Godlike combo.
Right, super, just a lawnmower. Just hilarious. Well, so you mentioned Heroes of New Earth earlier, which was one of the early MOBAs, and then obviously we're talking WoW now. Do you play any other games besides StarCraft at this point,
Yeah.
or you still largely just play StarCraft?
So like nowadays, I would say I definitely don't play anything like consistently all the time. I might do that again with like BC when it comes out, or I might do that again with some of the new ARPGs that are coming out, like maybe D4, maybe PoE 2, something like that. But
Mhm.
right now, I would say I play Apex Legends here and there. I play
Mhm.
still a little bit of Path of Exile here and there. I sometimes bounce around in a mod for Diablo 2 called Project Diablo 2, and
Mhm.
the whole announcement of Resurrected made me get more hyped again about that. That's that Resurrected mod looks super fucking good for
Yeah.
Yeah.
D2. And then other than that, right now, if I do play something else, it might be literally for like one day, because it might, like, one of my friends might be like, "Hey, we should play this game." Like, for instance, an example would be I played a game called Pummel Party for a day, and that was fun for the night. I played a game called Balloons TD for a day because of co-op TD. That was fun for a day.
Yep.
Wins is
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
It's the
uh,
best tower defense. It legitimately is.
yeah. But yeah, and other than that, not too much. I've been so busy lately. I feel like it's harder for me to find time to play games nowadays. Just for now, especially because a lot of times for me, what happens is when I do Beat a Gym series, like people, a lot of times they'll ask me like, "Are you gonna do another one?" Because a lot of people think it might only take me like 3 weeks to finish it, but it genuinely takes like 2 months of streams to do that, because it's all this content of talking analysis, doing real games, not just like grinding through people at like a GM level. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, so it's a lot of work that goes into it just on the stream side alone, but then there's editing that goes in afterwards, and then there's email responses that go in after. And my email tends to blow up a lot more when I'm doing B2GM series, because a lot of people are like, "Can we coaching? I want to do coaching." So that, like right now, for instance, I've coached the last like 3 days in a row, and I'm doing another 6 days in a row after this. And then there's more people that are like, "What's your availability like in 2 weeks?" Like, it actually just like, it's crazy, man. People, like, it just becomes so much, and it's super exhausting, but it's definitely worth it. I love doing it. And then there's other stuff on the side too that I've been talking about with people. Other things like, not to go super deep into it, but there's something I've been doing as well on this website called Rally.io with this content creator crypto. Like, it's lots of stuff going on, so it's definitely time consuming. It's really cool though. It's definitely busy.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was gonna ask. Well, now I say that and I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
So
No, you're good.
I'll
Yeah.
jump in. You transitioned mostly to kind of full-time streamer, and with your bronze to GM and with coaching and things like that, a lot of time sinks in there. And with you saying that you kind of shy, not totally away from, but don't have as much time for gaming. Do you have other passive projects that are outside of gaming that you use as kind of a respite to get away from, I guess, what is kind of your day job of streaming and coaching?
Honestly, I'm pretty 100% all in with it. Like, it's mostly what I do. I would say the only thing I really do to drop back a bit and like really keep myself centered, I guess, would be just like, as weird as it might sound, just like, watching other content creators that aren't even in gaming at all. Just someone that's like more relaxed, someone that just makes you like remember not to get like one thing that I'll just say this. One thing I notice a lot of people do, especially if they have but like any type of popularity or any type of like success break, like sometimes it can change people to a degree, and when like they become, instead of being like thank you, they're like I deserve that kind of a way, like it just like it literally changes them in a negative way. And I always try to like keep myself more grounded by not getting fully absorbed in it and never just thinking about anything else. So it could be something as simple as just watching like I don't know, a random stupid video about something that is like based off of food, or something that's based off of like construction video, or just other random crap that's not related to gaming at all. And if I'm not doing anything that's like just like viewing videos, it'll usually genuinely be, I feel like it's the only thing I really do. It'll be like hanging out with my dog, like walking my dog, or just chilling out, just relaxing. And then just like talking to friends, I guess, as well, obviously. Like, but that's kind of like a here or there thing that happens every day, regardless. Where someone messages you, talk to them, or you message them. It doesn't always have to be about gaming. And yeah, I don't know. But no projects though. Nothing like where I'm like doing like home repair, or nothing crazy like that.
Big musician or anything.
Yeah.
No, dog walks are the best though. So
the funny thing that you say that is I don't think I'll ever do it, and I don't think I could do it because I don't think I have the talent for it. But I always thought it would be super like just badass if I could like make music that I already thought I was in, like super into, and like do my own version of something like that. But I feel like I would just, if I already know if I did that, I would probably listen to what I made and be like, that's not what I wanted. Like, that's
Yeah,
not exactly
I
what
tried to go down that route. I so badly in the like late, like 2010-ish era,
Yeah.
I really badly wanted to produce I was big into like Australian drum and bass music. And I was like,
Okay.
I want a drum and bass Christmas album.
Yeah.
Like, I want the little drum and bass boy to be like, I want to remix all of the classic songs
Yeah.
as just hardcore D&B. I tried because I had a little bit of knowledge. I knew a few friends. I tried to mess around with it some, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't. And it's so no, that project got trashed pretty quick. So I get the feeling there.
Yeah.
So I remembered what I was going to ask you. Talking about the Bronze to GM series. Will this be your third one, or have you done?
This is my fourth one.
Fourth one. Okay,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So I did the first series I did, which was really fast. I did just random only, so I didn't split the races up. And then I got the biggest common question I got there was people were talking about how I just never played their race in certain leagues because it was like, you never played Terran, or like not only did you not play Terran, but you didn't even play like the one I really struggled with the most, which is TVT and Gold or like Silver. So I tried to like give people way more variety, but then the second time I did it, it went really fast, and the best way to describe it is the less games you play on an account, the faster your MMR fluctuates. So it would be like literally 2 wins and I'm promoted at like lower leagues because it's like the game's still trying to identify where I am. And then they would same thing again where people are like, oh, you didn't play the one matchup I wanted you to play, and you didn't play it until like platinum, and I'm stuck in silver. So I tried to get it a bit more down in the third series. Just to like try to give people more variety of games, and I really, every series I was always trying to like make sure I keep true to the whole thing of like I'm not trying to feel like I'm picking on lower level players, but instead giving a guide to players. And then I got more games in the third time around, and the third time around, which is the one I made in 2019. Everybody, that was like the one series I got that had very little negative feedback and a ton of positive feedback. But then the thing you end up doing all the time, anyone who's in content creation, I feel like can understand and relate to this, is you always try to think about how you can make the next thing you do better than the previous thing you do, and it's like a hurdle you have to continuously climb over. And I thought to myself, okay, the next time I make a series, whenever that is, and it happens to be now, I was gonna try to make a little bit better content production value to it. So I feel like if you go to my series now, it looks just more organized than it did before. I'm trying to make it just like look very clean, and then on top of that, I tried to also delve deeper into the analytical side, because in the other series I would touch topics, but then like it's really hard when you're someone who knows a lot about some type of activity, and then other people have no idea. I could say something like, for instance, I go, oh yeah, so just avoid the AoE, and someone's like, I don't know what that means at all. What does the term AoE stand for? Like, they don't just understand any of this stuff, and you're like, okay, let me break it down really thoroughly and make sure you actually understand what I'm saying. So I've been really, my videos have been super long this series because I've been trying really hard to really go super in depth about breaking down every single like dynamic in the game that I can think of that I have not talked about yet. And I feel like a big part of why I'm doing that as well is because ever since I made 2019 BetaGM, it was the same thing where my coaching like just kind of exploded. And then I started doing something that I called replay analysis with coaching. So it's like, the difference would be is coaching is like a live call where they can ask me questions and talk one-on-one, and a replay analysis is I just run through it at my own pace and I talk about what I think is relevant. And because it was like coaching overload essentially, and because of that, I feel like I went down this really deep analytical hole of just like how I talk about stuff now with StarCraft, like even more than I did before. So now it's like just kind of coming out as well in the new series that I'm making right now that is super analytical, and it's really trying to make everyone get like a full understanding of like what things mean in the game, so that then I think this is probably for the way the series is going, I really do think this is overall better, because the concept I had before was trying to teach people like in the last series in 2019, it was about teaching people like one concept, like learn how to play efficient and macro and you'll be great, and then maybe learn how to do a couple builds overall when you know how to macro, and you'll be good to go. But it's still overall I felt like it was kind of basic. And now I'm really trying hard to like actually teach people a concept, not of just StarCraft, but of RTS. So like, and one thing I've said a few times throughout the series, which I think it's really cool if people get into it, is not only will what you learn in that series help you get better at StarCraft, but it'll help you get better at the next RTS game you might play, or like let's say it's Age of Empires, let's say if it's a Frostgiant Studios game, let's say if it's a Dreamhaven game, like or some other RTS company that you like, you know, that would be huge at just helping you have a head start into like whole new unit set, whole new economy situation going on. But if you understand the concepts that people just don't think about and they just panic while they play RTS because it's overwhelming, that's really the road I'm going down this time, is just really trying to teach that kind of stuff.
That's super awesome. So you're taking basically everything that you learned from doing coaching and from doing replay analysis, and then kind of merging the coaching and replay analysis, and then taking that and now applying it to your solo play while you coach others, kind of coaching the globe, if you will.
Yeah, it's one thing that's helped a lot, which besides what you just said was exactly true, is one thing as well is when I coach people, I've coached people in bronze, silver, gold, like every league, and I feel like I always see consistent repetitive problems in players that I coach. So that also helps a lot at helping me identify what those players need to improve on. And that's why I feel like I really feel confident in what I think is like a good way for you to grow as a player, because literally the biggest problem that I notice in like lower level players, just to give you an example, would be they always watch Pro StarCraft, and Pro StarCraft never talks about macro. It always talks about your micro, and like, wow, look at that engagement he just took. Oh my God, he's setting this up like insane. And then everyone thinks that that's how you play StarCraft, so they don't know any better. And if they just break the game down to a lower, easier degree where it's just like more consumable right away, then they can grow to a player that can actually comprehend how hard that is, and then actually realize, there was no chance they could even do that before because I didn't macro at all. I didn't blah, blah, blah. I didn't do these things. So it really just like helped me understand where players are actually at instead of just kind of guessing where they're at.
Yeah, well, so I'm curious, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
Sure.
Do you have an example of like a fundamental of RTS that applies more broadly that maybe that you do see that players aren't picking up on?
Yeah, people with no patience is probably the biggest one that happens repeatedly, where a lot of this happens in my stream chat all the time as well, where they're like, why don't you just go kill him right now? And it's like, okay, let's think about it for a second. If I have the advantage, and right now, if I go attack him right now, let's say if we had to do the math on it, I probably have like a 60% chance to win. And that still means it's better than not, you know, I'm probably going to win, but I still have a high chance to lose. Whereas what if I just sat here for 2 more minutes and I just continued on the lead that I already have, and now I can turn this lead into a 60% chance to win, now into like an 80% chance to win. And now suddenly I have a much higher chance to win. And then again, if it makes sense to attack, for things like your limitations, like supply block, for instance, or like, supply cap, where like, what if I now hit my threshold of 200? Well, now I'm at the biggest power spike I can be at. So now if I wait any longer, it means that I'm only going to let him catch up at this point. So like understanding like these, what I just call them power spikes, because it's literally like you're at the strongest you're going to be at this point in time right now. And if you wait any longer, it's going to only go down. But if you push before you get there, it's going to be on the downside again. So really just understanding when you should be attacking, and you know, that gives you the higher odds to make the best outcome for yourself. Because a lot of times people literally just always pull the trigger right away. They're like, oh, he attacked me and I defended. Even if I only have 6 units, I'm going all in. Like, we're just attacking because I feel like I need to. It's like, no, relax.
Gotta keep this win train running.
Yeah, right? Just relax, dude. You're going to throw the game away right now, and it's going to go the opposite again.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, so, you know, we've talked to a few other StarCraft 2 scene people, I guess, for lack of a better way to succinctly put that. And, you know, obviously StarCraft 2 has been around for a decade plus now. And it did switch to free to play, which I think was probably a huge boon for picking up new players. But like a lot of friends that I have that haven't played StarCraft before, especially at this point, are terrified to start because they think that it's this like 5-year commitment to even be able to, you know, compete at all. Do you have any advice that you would share, or any sentiment you would share for new players that are thinking about StarCraft that haven't even played before?
Yeah, I would say if you start a game when a game is fresh and nobody knows what's going on, you're not even going to think about the time, because you're going to have that passion that's going to drive you. And it might take you 5 years to get to like pro level. It depends on the kind of person you are. It depends on how perceptive you are. But it might take you 5 years. It might take you 2.5 years. It might take you 1 year. Really just depends on you. But if you get into a game after it's been established and everyone already there's already like a meta that is developed, and there's already like ideas of builds that are common that have like become mainstream. If you get into a game then and you have zero effort to improve your like you do no research on how to like get better and you just kind of dive into it. If you're gonna have fun, then that's totally fine. Then you don't really care about time anymore. You care about fun, right? But if you're the kind of person that's like, no, I want to get good at this game and I want to try to like, my idea of fun is being competitive and like trying to get better and better and better. It's gonna everything that I said before about each person's different. It's only gonna take you longer if you don't do any research, because now you're not only going into against people that are way more experienced than you, but if you do no research yourself and you just kind of like trial and error it and feel it out, you're going to feel like every game is going to be harder, and that's how it's going to go. But if you spend just a little bit of time doing a little bit of research, like I'm not trying to self-promote my Beta Jam series here, but like
no, dude,
yeah,
that is exactly what you should be doing.
I'm getting ready to promote it again when you're done. So go on.
But if you just have someone who can give you decent advice on like set you on your way on a path, you already stop like you take all these like potential mistakes you would have made for countless hours and they're eliminated, and you're going down a path now, and all you're doing now is you're perfecting that path, and then you're now going to make what could have taken someone, you know, longer to get to where they wanted to be. Now it's going to be faster than where it's going to be, and you actually now have a head start going down that road where, let's use a person, instead of just throwing a bunch of numbers to confuse people, if it takes a random guy who starts the game from the beginning, he takes 1 year to get good at the game. If he joins the game though, 5 years after the game's come out, it'll probably take him 2 years to get good at the game if he never does any research, because now he's going to just get destroyed. It's going to be demoralizing. It's going to be hard to deal with, and he's going to have a hard road ahead of him, but he's eventually going to get there if he just keeps to it. But if you have a guy who starts as well like 5 years after the game's been out, and he actually goes through a course that tells you this is the optimal way to play the game. Now, instead of taking a year to get good at the game, it might only take him 6 months to get good at the game, because it's actually taking away all of the variables that he has to guess about, and he just knows what to do now. And it's just a process of getting good at those specific variables rather than guessing what even is good and what isn't good, because that is a big reason why it fluctuates so hard on each person, is because like when I was saying how perceptive someone is some people can actually look at a situation and go, no, that's bad. No, that's good. And they actually know, okay, this is how I fix that. And some people go, I have no idea. Like, is that good? Is that bad? Like, it might take me like 5 times as long as you to figure out if that's even good or bad. So I don't even know if I'm making the same mistake over and over. And a good way to give an example of this is I've seen people, I'm not going to throw anyone's name under the bus or anything like that, but I've seen people streaming and say things like, they'll get like cheesed and they'll be like, I know what I should do here. I should do this. That's how you beat that. And I listen to that and I go, no, it's not. That is not how you beat that. That's actually going to kill you even harder, and you'll figure that out later when you die next time. It's just like people will do that all the time to themselves, right? It's because they don't know. They have to go through the process of learning it. So, yeah, if you have a guide that tells you like this is how you probably should be playing the game, and with a good indicator of like, because you're taking the advice from someone that actually knows what is and what isn't good for that particular thing you're looking at. Then yeah, it'll definitely speed up the process of getting better at the game, and it won't feel as intimidating, because the biggest thing that is like the lure that latches someone into the game is that moment when you first have your real first epiphany that goes, wow, like I actually like I did that really well, and I have not been able to do that before, and now suddenly I feel like I'm a better player, and then it gets addicting, right? And you just get better and better.
Yeah, I think that there's kind of two things to that. One is that for the player that is just trying to learn on their own, I think for me, the hardest thing, especially with StarCraft, was unlearning bad behaviors, right? Where I had picked up, because I was just playing for fun for a long time. Maybe I looked at a couple builds, but I didn't watch big guides. And when I'd watched guides and watched, like the Bronze to GM series, going, oh Lord, then trying to apply it, it was like I still had muscle memory for bad habits. Yeah. And so having to unlearn those is really, really difficult to do. And so I think, like you said, like starting with a guide is going to make it so you never pick those up.
Yep.
The other thing is there's a lot of games, especially in real-time strategies. Real-time strategies do not do a great job of teaching you everything about the game. Like, I don't think there's a single place in StarCraft that, especially not in the campaign, if you just come from the campaign, you don't know that camera locations exist.
Yeah. I have a, sorry to interrupt you. I have a really,
no.
I have a really interesting point about this, because I actually went back recently and I looked at the tutorial to multiplayer for StarCraft 2, and I was so disappointed. And I feel like this is why. This is what I think traditional RTS development was about, and then I'll talk about what I think current day RTS development should be like. But I think traditional RTS development is the tutorial to the game is not about how you correctly play in multiplayer and play for like efficiency and how you play properly. Like if you look at if you have like a board game and you like look at the rules, it actually tells you how to play the game, right? That's what something like that will do. But if you look at a like campaign or a tutorial to StarCraft, I feel like the way those games are designed is it doesn't tell you how to play the game. It tells you how to move your mouse and your keyboard and stuff on the screen and stuff like that. But then it also, I feel like it's more of a demo to show you what units exist in the game, where it's like, this is a Hive Tech Broodlord. This is a carrier from a fleet beacon and a Stargate. This is a mothership. This is a battlecruiser. But it has nothing to do with how you're supposed to play the game. Like, it literally is, there's no instructions on how to actually use the units and how to play the game. It's just a click, and this is what you can use. And the tutorial, so that's like, campaign is just like a introduction to the game of like, this is what it has in it, and figure it out. And then even further than that, it's the same thing in tutorial for multiplayer. Because I remember watching it, and I ran through the tutorial, and I was like, dude, if I did this, I would genuinely be stuck in bronze for life. And this is what it did. This is what it told me to do. I did the Zerg one, and it was like, all right, welcome to Zerg. I want you to go ahead and open up with an early spawning pool. And then you're like, okay. It's like, okay, you made a pool. Now I want you to make a second gas, or your first gas. And then I want you to make like 10 Zerglings. And then I want you to make a second gas. And now I want you to expand. And you're like, dude, this is like, this guy would be on like 18 drones when the other guy's on like 45. Like, what the hell is this build? And it doesn't even tell you to attack.
It's like an early pool, but a bad early pool.
Yeah,
and a fast expand, but no drones.
Like, it has nothing to do with the fact that it's like, so if you go for a pool first, it means you're aggressive and you need to attack your opponent. Versus if you go for macro build, you should be the defender, and that's how the game kind of lines up. And it does nothing about that. It's like, make Zerglings, make a pool, make a lot of gas, and just have like 1,000 gas in your bank doing nothing. Don't even tech yet. And just sit there defensively while we now guide you into the next base you're going to take. And then eventually we're going to teach you how to like make
these 10
bases.
Zerglings will do great against your enemy, or the enemy Protos's Oracle opener.
Yeah, right? And like, if you put that guy, if you actually had a guy, just like, the way I described it is, and it's very true, if you put a guy in like 1 hour or like 2 hours of that tutorial, and then you put him like fresh into multiplayer, and like you had another guy who used something more traditional that's mainstream about actually teaching someone how to play multiplayer properly, you put that guy, like two different guys that have never touched the game, do two different tutorials, and they 1v1 each other after like a 2-hour training period. The guy who does the more modern version of what, like for B2GM, for instance, he will have a 100% win rate against the other guy, just because the guy who doesn't know how to play properly and actually make economy is going to have like 60 supply when the other guy's maxed out. And it's like, why is this game so hard? Oh, I don't understand. It's because the tutorial isn't based around actually teaching you how to play the game. It's about teaching you how to like make, this is what the unit exists in the game if you want to make it. It's like, oh, this is a muta. And now you made 2 of them. Now we need you to make 3 infestors.
It's also based around, it's probably not based anywhere close to any recent patch or maybe even the recent expansion.
I don't know that it was
updated. It hasn't been updated once, I don't think. I think it was, I honestly think it was a developer that made it and went, people might not realize that Hive units exist or layer units exist or like Stargates even exist. Let's show them that they exist.
I mean, to be fair, there are some players that probably could use to run through the original tutorial to learn those things, because
right.
Yeah, I will say one buddy who did ask how to get into StarCraft. I told him basically you never stop building workers, and then the next thing I did was link him your B to GM series. I was like, you just need to know to build workers a lot. That's the thing that most players don't get, is that it doesn't stop at like 20.
Yeah.
And then really you should just pick a race and watch this dude's videos, because he'll walk you through how to move across the map in Bronze League all the way up to how to actually play.
Yeah. The biggest thing I always tell people, that's like the easiest way to explain it, is StarCraft 2 is honestly a game about maintaining efficiency as much as possible. And what that means is that every building you make needs to be producing something the entire time. It's like an assembly line that never ends. And if your build ever has moments where it's like, I make a barracks and then I make 1 Marine and I don't use it again for 90 seconds. And then I make 1 Marine and I don't use it again for 72 seconds. It's like, well, your assembly line has like 15% uptime. And you're literally like, you could be pumping like Marine. And it's like Marine, like an empty conveyor belt, nothing. And then a Marine randomly on there. And a lot of people think that when they play the game that way, that it's okay because the reason why is because they go, well, I'm spending my money though, and then instead of just making units out of the building, they just make more buildings and they don't build out of them, and they're like, well, that's fine. And then you're like, no, you have to just, if you keep building units, that's how you play. And then when you have too much money, then you add on more.
Right. So something else that we talk a lot about on this show, and kind of one of the earliest points that we related StarCraft to when we started this podcast is StarCraft in many ways kind of offers a mental health coach opportunity just from the game itself, because it presents you with such a variety of scenarios. Do you find that StarCraft 2 translates into real life? I mean, obviously not literally the mechanical skill of it, but just the way that you think about it, the way you deal with wins and losses and all that sort of stuff?
I would say, I don't know about, I couldn't really talk about real life situations because I feel like as a person, I've always been a very calm, very like level-headed person. Like I'm definitely the kind of person that maybe it goes sometimes is a detriment to my character to a degree in situations, but it can be like, even if someone like screws me over in a way, I'll usually be like, it's fine, like not a big deal. I'm not gonna make a huge deal out of it. It's totally fine because I'm not gonna like ruin my day over this, and I'm not gonna like stress about this. I've always had like very low stress levels, and it's always been kind of like, it's just because I'm a super relaxed person. Takes a lot to make me get super stressed out. But I would say that to apply it to just other games would be when I have a friend, I'll use WoW as an example. And even though I love WoW, it's a bad example for this, but I've had friends where I'll play StarCraft or like I'll play harder games, right? Like StarCraft is definitely a harder game. And then I will we'll play a new game, and automatically I'm already good at it. And then they're like, wow, you picked this game up so fast. And I'll have a friend who's been playing WoW for like 10 years or something, or like 8 years, and he'll play a new game as well. And he'll be like, this is so hard. Like, it's like WoW like rotted his brain to it because the game is like nowhere near as hard. So StarCraft definitely keeps your mind sharp more than other games by a big degree. And the best way the way you can look at it is like StarCraft is like taking gaming steroids for other games because it just makes you good at everything. It's such a hard game that you literally feel like it takes every skill set possible.
So you brought up something, and I want to get your opinion on it. And I know we don't have a huge amount of time left, but I'd just love to know like your 10,000 foot view, because we've talked about this before in other episodes that there are games that are good to teach people who have never played any video game before. Mm-hmm. Like if that's your first video game, they do a really good job in the tutorial of teaching you not just how to play their game, but how to play games in general. And you had mentioned, and with the, some more RTSs kind of on the horizon, what do you think a good RTS tutorial would look like?
So this is interesting because I've had this conversation with people before, because it's definitely something that's, you want to have a balance between something that is actually going to be useful knowledge that's going to help them get better. So they don't just get frustrated and lose, but you also want to have a balance of making the person have fun, because I will say, I would 100% say this about my own series. My series, if someone sat down and you said, hey, have you ever heard of StarCraft before? And they went, no. And you went, hey, check this out. And you put them in front of my video. I bet that person's probably going to watch 10 minutes and go, can we watch something else? Like, I'm not that interested anymore, because it's already catering to people that are already invested in the game.
Right.
It's like, it's basically a way where someone goes, this game's fun. I really like it, and I want to get better at it. Then that person likes my series. So if you actually want to get someone who's never played RTS before, I really do think you should probably have like multiple layers of tutorial, where the first tutorial is literally just like, this game's fun and here's why. And like, it's a very basic version of how it can be fun. So maybe something then like the the traditional like campaign sense of like a StarCraft or something like that, where someone's like, oh, what's this unit do? Okay, cool. And like they see explosions and blood, and like they're like, wow, things are like, lots of chaos is going on the screen. And then suddenly you get like an upgrade for your unit, and now it makes your unit like jump up a cliff, and you're like, whoa, my God, like this is sick. Like, okay, and I can do this too. And just some way that makes the person just have genuine fun in a very basic way. Mm-hmm. That I think is what you would again. So that's what it would be for a newer player, and then for a more advanced player, then you can fine tune efficiency and like actually draw them in deeper with like the competitive side of them.
I think something like a Rocket League does a really good job of introducing the fun basic things, while also having like training packs like built into the game, and then the option for other players to add training packs that are just like, now if you really want to do the challenging things, here's a ridiculous shot that you have to make, and if you don't know how to play, you should go back and play the like intermediate training pack to. So I think something like like, I mean, there are StarCraft versions like the micro trainer or whatever that help build those things, but those again are built by other players. I think having some of that built in just to show like macro to 200 supply and put a timer up.
Yeah.
And when you get there, it ends the timer and gives you a score would be kind of something along those lines.
I think probably I think Rocket League is a good example too. But I think the thing about Rocket League and what makes me kind of think what the answer I'm about to give you in a second here is why it kind of clicked in my mind about what it would be like. Rocket League is basically like traditional soccer, and I feel like the majority of people know, oh, well, you have 2 goals and a ball, and you kick the ball on the other goal on the other side of the field, right? That's the goal of the game. And now we're just doing a fun spin on it with a car, and it can flip around, and you can like fly a lot with the car if you know how to control your boosts and stuff. And there's a lot of cool things you can do with it, juggling the ball, which makes it really fancy, which is super like flair-based gameplay. So I think the best way you can just get someone into the game to make them have fun is literally teach them the rules of the game in a very easy way that makes them have fun. And like, so for instance, if you put, I don't know how fun this would be per se, but like RTS is definitely something that's a bit more complicated because it's not like as you could say, oh, well, you make economy and you kill your opponent, right? Last man standing wins in a super basic sense. But it like a lot of RTSs have different methods where it's like, well, this one's about controlling a node and you have to stand there to gain resources. This one's about mining resources in and out of your command center. This one's about maybe gaining resources when you can, like, just walk over terrain and suddenly you control that area and now you have it. And it's like you have to walk over multiple areas and it's a one-time thing. It doesn't generate over time. So you have to like really make sure your game has like like it's like a clear cut like explanation of what you're doing and like just showing someone a basic way to do it. So maybe just a version of StarCraft, because everyone I'll talk about StarCraft because I know StarCraft and I'm not going to say something that's wrong here.
Right.
But with StarCraft, maybe having someone just do something where it like you show them how to mine from like one base really fast, really easy peasy. Like you could even do like the way a multiplayer game starts now, where you start with 12 workers and it auto mines for you, and then maybe don't focus on that a whole lot, because I will definitely say the majority of people who play StarCraft don't think macro is the fun part of the game. Just like introduce it, but then move on quickly. And be like, so you need these to make these, and these are what you want to use to go kill those things. And then you have the person do an objective of killing like just an AI or whatever, and push through an objective, and then it takes maybe like 15 minutes, and then it's over and you win. And then it's like, and you could like, and then maybe if they want to do another one, then it's like a little bit more advanced of more things you could do. I do definitely think micro is the lure to the game, and then and because that's like the flashy part of the game that everyone likes. And then that's why like my series is so heavy, especially for newer players, all about macro, which is everyone's always like, can we micro already, dude? This is so fucking boring. So boring. I don't want to macro
Not
anymore.
so
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Getting the fun part of the game out there and explaining it in a really easy, basic way would be the way I would say it would have to go.
Well, as we wrap up, the theme of our podcast here is why gaming matters. And so whenever we have a guest, we always like to ask you, when you hear that phrase, if we ask you the question, why does gaming matter? What is your response to that? Why would you say gaming matters?
My answer to that has changed over the years a little bit, and but I have one core fundamental foundation to it, and I think the best word I can use for why gaming matters is community. The thing about gaming for me that made me love games more than like I can remember the moments I got addicted to games was when I would literally find myself logging into a game that had a community on the game, and I would be like intending to play the game, but then I find myself spending 3 hours talking to people, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, we're just talking about random stuff about the game, and it's giving us a conversational topic to talk about, and then you make friends because of this. And sometimes you might even just log in with the intention to play, but you just talk to your friends, and then a lot of times you log in and you actually play the game. But making friends, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm 33 right now, and the only friends that I talk to still that I met while I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, and I would say my friends that came from there, they play a lot less than me now, but the only ones I still do talk to here and there are my gamer friends. And then and it's like a good way to also keep connected like globally as well. It's so easy to just talk to each other online. And then all my friends that I've met over the years through pro gaming tournaments, through streaming, through Just, you know, friends that I've met through gaming as well, like in any game that I was interested in at the time, are all the friends that I talk to like way more nowadays. So it's constant like, hey man, you want to play a game of Apex Legends? Hey, you guys want to play a game of Dota? Or you guys want to play a game of whatever, right? And yeah, it's just a good way to stay connected with other people, and it makes it way more fun. So gaming, I feel like, just builds long-lasting relationships with people, and it makes you have a lot more fun. And I've gotten to the point so much as well where I kind of rely on it, where I'm like, oh, I'm super excited about playing that game, and my friends get excited, and my excitement goes from like 100 to like 150, and I'm like, now I'm really excited. But then, I mean, it has a double-edged sword too, though, where if I'm really excited about playing a game and I'm already at like 100, and they're like, I don't know if I'm gonna play, and now I'm like at a 50, and I'm like,
oh well, maybe it's not that good.
Yeah, right?
Maybe I was wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe I was wrong. I'll step back. I'll wait for a sale.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't know if I want to play anymore. But it's like gaming with your friends is, there's nothing that's more like, for me personally, from my experiences, like those are the days that I think about when and it makes you like, it's like a fond memory, right? Where it's like, oh, I remember opening day of that game, and we literally played for like 24 hours straight, and we were just addicted all day. And it was super fun, right? And yeah,
going through Valheim week recently was us.
Yeah, right? No, it's so fun, dude.
Yep.
And then I would say a second part of that, which is why I say it changed a little bit, but that's still the core foundation of what I think gaming is to me. A little bit on the side of it is competitive outlet. Like, I love being able to be competitive and stuff. And if I didn't have that, I feel like I would be more or less bored in day-to-day stuff. And being able to have, like, the vast difference of experiences at the same computer setup is amazing. Like, and it's very, very, very approachable. Like, I feel like there's other. If I was like, let's say I was like a competitive bodybuilder or something like that. Well, there's a lot more investment into that one thing that applies to that only. But if I'm, let's say I'm a competitive RTS player, and now I want to be a competitive FPS player, and now I want to be a competitive MMO player, and I want to, like, all these ARPG player, whatever, there's a lot of different experiences I can like delve into, and it just gives me variety that, I don't know, it's really fun. Gaming, it can be super addictive. And yeah, being competitive with it, especially when you're competitive with your friends, that is like the peak of everything for me, where that is the most fun, when you get a group of friends that are laid back, they're competitive, and you guys also play a lot together, and it's just like a good time, and you're, you know, because you're winning, and you're also having a good time, you're having fun talking and all that kind of stuff. It's a good time.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, you're preaching my language right there. That's exactly probably, I mean, not verbatim, but that's pretty much the answer I would give as well. It's that social element to it is just so good. And what you mentioned about really the low cost, because you buy, yeah, gaming PC expensive,
Sure.
whatever, but for $1,000 to $2,000, you can have a gaming PC, and now you can have access to lots and lots of different experiences with your friends. And to your point, it's a low barrier of entry when you look at a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on the show tonight, and really appreciate your time. We'll have links in the show notes to your Twitch channel, to your Twitter. Is there anywhere else you'd like to direct listeners to connect with you at?
No, that's good. Twitch, Twitter, definitely really good. Those are the main things I use, so that's perfect.
Okay, awesome.
And of course, make sure that you check out the Bronze to GM series on YouTube. Totally awesome. We used it. It definitely helped us improve. And we've talked about it in earlier episodes of the show, so go check it out. Super good.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vibe. It's been a pleasure.